welcome to the Senior Living 411 series. Tonight's topic is the 411 on financial, just one quick second here, on financial planning for the what ifs. So November is Fall Prevention Month, and for the month of November, we have been covering a variety of topics relating to fall prevention. We've discussed home health care, stair lifts, home modifications, and so much more. But how do you pay for all of this if the what if happens? My first piece of advice is don't wait until it happens. Integrate elder care into your financial planning or pay the price. People plan for retirement to live how they want to live in their silver years. But have you thought about including elder care in those plans? Most have not. And when reality sets in, people are shocked at the cost. As we near the end of the month, I felt that it was relevant to discuss the 411 on financial planning for the what ifs. Tonight, I have a returning guest with me. He's one of my original guests back in 2018 when I first started this show. His name is Mr. Zamal Whyte. And Zamal, I'd like to welcome you to the show. Say hello to everyone.
Yes, hi everybody. Hi Des. Hi Facebook Land. I'm so happy to be here again.
Awesome. So Zamal has worked with RBC for the past 23 years in various positions. However, he spent the past 16 years as a financial planner, and 2 months ago, he made the decision to move to BMO. When he's not managing portfolios, Zamal enjoys spending time with his beautiful wife of 18 years, Sadine, and their amazing daughter, Zoe, who is 10 years old. Zamal is a Christian by faith, and currently he attends Kingdom Covenant Ministries, where he serves on the board of directors, as well as being an associate pastor in the youth and young adult ministries. He also serves on the board of the Reach Out Center for Kids, which is an organization that advocates for children's mental health in Ontario. And he's also a member of the Rotary Club of Mississauga, Dixie, where he currently serves as the membership chair. As for me, my name is Desiree King, and I'm a senior home safety advisor here in Ontario. As always, if you haven't been to the show before, I've got to share my story with you. So the first question I'm often asked when I deliver seminars like this is, what do you care, or what do you know about aging, and you look so young? And my response is quite honestly that it's my passion. Now, I'm going to date myself here, so don't try to calculate my age, but when I was 14, I worked as a candy striper. Now, a candy striper, if you remember way back then, we wore a red and white outfit. We went around the hospitals and we served in some kind of capacity. In my case, I delivered books on the geriatric floor. And I firmly believe that is where it all began for me. I would deliver these books and have some wonderful conversations with the seniors who I was delivering these books to. And I grew to love it. I then went on to work as a dietary aide in the geriatric ward in many hospitals throughout Scarborough. And throughout my high school years, I did this. And then I've worked in or owned several senior-related businesses. Now, most recently, I was a realtor for the past 6 years who specialized in working with the 55-plus demographic. And I've taken a slew of courses in aging in place, downsizing, retirement living options, and dementia care. I've also worked as a client care coordinator in one of the leading home health care companies in North America. And I must admit that during my time spent as a realtor, I've always felt a pull more towards the educating and serving side of the business, more so than the real estate side. So at the beginning of 2020, I knew that something in my life was about to change. I knew that my calling was greater than my career. Little did I know that we would hit a pandemic called coronavirus, and no one knew this. So over the past 7 months, coronavirus has killed roughly 9,822 Canadians. And 81% of these deaths are linked to long-term care homes. Now, health officials have cited the need for rigorous visitor and resident care protocols and precautions in these facilities. However, I believe that the solution is in our hands. We as a people, as the future elderly population of this country, have to make some decisions as well. And I firmly believe that we as Canadians need to change our method of thinking and caring for the elderly. One possible solution is that we honor the wishes of our elderly members of society and better enable them to stay in their homes by doing what places like Scotland has done and pouring money into home modifications and home health care as opposed to hospital funding. So over the past 2 months, as I sat at home listening to the news and watching the number of deaths occur with our seniors, I realized I wanted to do more than I was already doing. I realized that being a realtor did not align with my desire to have a greater impact on the lives of seniors. There's an ancient Greek physician named Hippocrates, and he once said, drastic times call for drastic measures. My drastic measure took the form of me officially resigning from real estate and turning my attention to my one thing, which is senior home safety. So while many seniors want to stay at home safely, the fact is their homes are not equipped to do so. And the statistics I'm about to show you will show you just that. So in preparation for what I see will be a shift in the mindset of seniors, their adult children, and society on the whole. My main objective is to assist families in figuring out what is wrong in the homes of themselves or their loved ones and what needs to be addressed in order to allow and enable our seniors to be safe in their own home. My vision remains steadfast: to educate, equip, ensure, empower, and elevate seniors and their families throughout the entire aging in place process, arming them with top-notch information and access to other like-minded, qualified providers. So why is fall prevention so important? Why is there a whole month dedicated towards fall prevention? I'm going to give you 4 reasons tonight. The number 1 reason is falls are common. Falls are the leading cause of fatal and non-fatal injuries in older Canadians. As a matter of fact, 1 in 4 older Canadian falls each year. Every 11 seconds, an older adult is treated in the emergency room for a fall. And every 19 minutes, an older adult dies from a fall. So this interview tonight is going to be about 40 minutes long. By the end of that interview, just think about it. Approximately 2 seniors will have died from a fall. The second reason is falls can cause serious injuries. Falls result in injuries such as hip fractures, broken bones, and head injuries. In fact, more than 2.8 million older adults are treated in hospital emergency departments annually because of a fall. And this results in over 800,000 hospitalizations. The third reason is falls are costly. The average hospital cost for a fall-related injury is over $30,000. Falls with or without injury carry a heavy burden on the quality of life. And after a fall, many older adults develop a fear of falling, and as a result, they limit their activities and social engagements. Fear of falling can result in further physical decline, depression, social isolation, and feelings of helplessness. And the last reason is falls impact caregivers too. Research has shown that after a care recipient's first fall, caregivers report a significant increase in caregiver burden, fear of falling, and depression. Research has also shown that the toll on the family caregiver's health appears to increase over time. If you can prevent a fall, whether it is you as the caregiver or the person you're caring for, you can save time, stress, and money. Ever wonder what your future will look like in 10, 20, or 30 years? Or what would happen to your retirement savings if you bought that wonderful vacation home instead of waiting? Everyone seems to focus their attention on investment management. However, it is the ongoing relationship between your investments and planning for the future where the real magic happens. Financial planning is a lifelong process where you manage your entire financial picture in order to achieve your financial goals. Basically, when it gets down to it, the core of financial planning is goal planning. There are a lot of subtopics that should be covered as part of this process. However, tonight's discussion will focus on planning for all the what ifs and whens that can happen in life, planned, unplanned, and emergencies. This can include healthcare, long-term care, and successful aging, all of which are the what ifs. So let's get to the 411 and have a discussion with Zamal right now. I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Let's
Zamal,
do
I
it.
hope you enjoyed that introduction. You got an introduction.
Wow,
there.
I was getting excited. I love how you did that. A lot of people think it's just one or two things, but there's several tenets in financial planning. So I really appreciated that graphic there and the explanation. That was awesome.
Great, that's great. So what I want you to share with me before we jump into this is tell me how you got into this. What was your path that led into your wonderful career?
Wow, good question. Thanks, Des. You know what? It was interesting. Originally from Jamaica. I came here. Actually, my parents still live there. I only came for university. So grandma used to live here. She came up in the late 60s. So my brother and myself, we used to visit in the 80s, when we were of age. But it was only really those last 2 weeks of August. It was really just for the CNE, right? So those are the good days. So we used to come up all the time every year. And so when it was time to finish high school in Jamaica, I did both O and A levels in Jamaica, which are the exams that we take there. My dad had the vision to say if we wanted to go to school, university in Canada, we had that ability. He was going to set that up. So I came to do that. So went to McMaster University in Hamilton, good school, go Marauders. And when I started the very next year, I had an opportunity to get a summer job because I was going to do some summer school, and I got a job through Jobs Ontario Youth, one of those youth programs with Royal Bank. It was just a teller position. So I was very fortunate throughout my entire university, career. I actually was able to be a teller, at a bank close by the university there in Westdale, and that worked out great for me. And then so when it was time to go back home now, I finished school. Royal Bank offered me a position to be a personal banker. So it wasn't too hard of a decision. You just finished school, you need a job. So I was going to go home and try and find a job. And I was like, okay, well, I can get a job. If I have a job here and they're offering me, I'll just try this banking thing. So that was way back many moons ago too. Don't try and calculate my age.
No calculations here.
That's right, no calculations here. But so I took the job, just thinking, this was, just to try it out. And I started as a personal banker. That was great. And once my brother, who was like 3 years behind me, finished university, we decided to purchase a home together. And that's where I sort of started to decide. After about 2 or 3 years of personal banking, where you're doing both credit and investing, you decide sort of which one you like better. And I really liked the investment conversation. So so then you start to think, okay, well, what sort of jobs are best suited in that particular vein, So and then I came upon financial planning. So I sort of backed into it, if you will. I became a planner in 2004 with RBC, and as you shared in the introduction, I did that for the last 16 years. So after being with RBC for about 8 or so years before that. So it was great. Financial planning is awesome. Really, like I mentioned, it's not just the sales of RSPs and investment, but it's really a holistic view to helping people reach their goals. And there's so many different life stages, and that's why I really love our business relationship with regards to what you do, because the big part of it right now is retirement is like a career. So you work 20, 30, 40 years, and now you retire, and because of technology and medicine, people are living 20, 30, 40 years. So you need to be able to have some money to live and have the wherewithal to provide for yourself. So it's becoming more and more important, and especially here in Canada because of the baby boomers, right? So we're just on the touch part of that, but we see the demographic is such that there's going to be a lot of more people that are going to need a lot of the things that you do and I do and so many to try and help seniors just have that quality of life that they deserve.
Awesome. I was reading an article the other day, and statistically, never has there ever been a time in history when the number of seniors outnumber the number of young people. So
that's exactly
what's happening.
That's definitely what's happening here in Canada. And it's great that we have immigrants coming in and such, but the stats are such that you're right. The baby boomers is really a bigger number than they saw coming. So yeah, so that was my sort of inroads into financial planning. I really love the conversations and having the ability to just help people achieve those goals, right? So you come in, you know that there's going to come a time where you're going to retire. You're going to need to have the money that you worked hard for now work
Yeah.
for you for your for that period of time. So that's the main reason for why I got involved with it.
Exactly. And before we delve into the meat and potatoes, like I like to call it, you've been in this industry for such a long time. I would actually, would you say this is your calling? Is this your calling?
It's interesting. I heard you speak about yours, and I smiled in my mind. I was like, what, that's when you sort of are able to identify with that, right? When you just feel that comfortable. I really believe that a big part of my calling, if you will, has to do with helping people navigate the financial planning realm as it relates to them achieving goals, and even and having new goals and seeing how they can afford those. So yes, I'd say it's definitely a part of my calling for sure.
Okay. And with that being said, what brings you the most joy in the work that you do?
Great question. The thing that really gets it for me, because again, I think a lot of people are very hesitant when it comes to their finances. It's a very personal thing. It's really seeing that light at the end of the tunnel. That when people sort of oh yes, no, I understand. Like when you're able to sort of meet them where they are, and be able to take them through the process, and really have them understand how now they can use money as a tool, because that's what it really is, right?
Yeah.
And you're able to, you worked hard for it, you amassed X amount, but no, you need to know how to use it with some wisdom, so you can don't let your money run out before you're ready to leave the earth. So when I see people along that line and getting it, and you don't have to know the technical terms, but have a great understanding for their personal situation, that really gives me the most joy.
Right, definitely. So, Zamal, what at what age should someone start? I mean, like for me, we have our doctor, we have our lawyer, we have our dentist. There are things you need in your toolkit as you go along life. I think everyone needs a therapist as well. Not that anything is necessarily a challenge, but it's good to have somebody that works on your brain as well, whether it be in the church or outside the church. So what is the average age of your clients, and what age should someone start having a financial planner involved in their life?
Right. It's a great question, Des, because I mean that's the one thing that nobody really has the control over, right? It's just really when you get it, you get it. So I mean, ideally you don't want to start, out of the gun, right? You're right. As soon as you start your career, if you're able to have the type of knowledge we're talking about, then you really want to embrace it at a certain level. But there's no wrong age. It's just that earlier obviously is better, just from because time waits and nobody, as we know, right? But the average age for my clients, and the clients that I sort of have, you sort of think of people as different stages in life, as it relates to working. So you obviously you're student, you start to work those early years, you get married, you start to have some family years, then you become sort of like eventually you're going to become what's called a wealth accumulator, where when you
Like
start.
that word.
So yeah, so that I know it's a nice place to be. That demographic normally translates to about your early 50s. Early
Okay.
50s to sort of like your mid 60s. So that's where you really have gotten over the hump, probably in terms of mortgage being smaller than anything else. I know you can really start to amass some savings, as long as you work on somewhat,
Yeah.
that seems to work out well. So generally what you find for a financial planning desk is, and you have obviously the outliers, but that's the general meat right there. That's the sweet spot. So those
Right.
people will have some disposable income, and the more sort of funds you have, the more options you can do in terms of trying to get some goals achieved.
Yeah. That reminds me of a quote I saw the other day as well. It said, if you want to make a billion, you have to lose a million. If you want to make a million, you have to be willing to lose thousands, hundreds of thousands. So
Yes.
it's that same thing. You have to have money to start really making more impact. The more money you have, the more impact you can make, is what you're saying.
Absolutely is. And I mean, and obviously the more time you have to make, the more money you need. So, it really is a domino effect, right? So if you can get started right early going at 25, then, by all means. But, certainly, once you sort of catch on that you need to do something, because that's the first thing, is that personal decision. And then, and get that coach,
Yeah.
and then off to the races.
Okay. So on the flip side, Is it ever too late to start planning?
Right. No, I mean, it's never too late. I never want to use that term. I mean, again, when you're, probably later in the years and you want to start to look at a plan, I think the biggest parts of timing is your coachability level, right? How coachable are you? Because at the end of the day, like that's going to be the key. Like, if you're able to take some good, wisdom, and some instructions, then you could still, more than likely achieve some, if not all of your goals, depending on what situation you're coming with at the coachability time. Because normally it's because of, that thing, that little word that we call pride. Sometimes you might think that you've passed the time, so you're just going to go ahead and do it yourself. And nobody says it can't work that way, but when we look at the figures, when you work with a professional, it seems like you get there faster.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. And for those of you who don't know what coachable means, it means forget what you think you know and listen. Be willing to take direction. Think about a player on a team.
Yes, that's
coach is there to guide you. So what about self-employed people? They don't have that employee pension plan or whatever it's called. I'm not quite sure because I'm self-employed as well.
Pension is the word. That's most times, or some sort of a group benefit plan, right?
Yeah. So isn't it more? It's more challenging for people like me who are self-employed. What type of advice do you give to someone like this? Because it's hard enough trying to figure out how much taxes to put aside each year, and all the other things that come up. You don't have benefits. You got to pay for that if you're in a two self-employed income or a single income. So what advice do you have for self-employed people generally speaking?
Yeah, good question. It's tough. I won't lie that certainly it's a tougher road, but certainly through that mechanism of being self-employed is going to give you some options on how to receive some funds back from the government too. So it's really the one thing is, again, it's coachability. Like, if you're willing to do what it takes, if you're, and sometimes, when you get to that self-employed person, you really need to, again, talk to somebody that's probably not just building the business, or has some experiential knowledge of some other streams of income coming in elsewhere, so we can actually work with those streams to build on them. So, but a self-employed role is a little more, trickier to navigate, but certainly, we can get them there as well.
Yeah. No, definitely. And you said, you mentioned the word tough. It can be tough. And definitely, I guess you're really making yourself vulnerable when you're discussing your finances openly with someone who starts off being a stranger, because you're here for a lifeline. You're here for the journey with the person. So with that being said, life can be tough. And especially during this pandemic, people are living check to check. What's your advice to them? Do they get a side hustle? Find more ways to make money?
Right.
It's rough right now. It really is. So
it
what?
Really is. I think this is, it's a trickier question. I think it really comes down to that person, right? Each individual person. I mean, you have to be. I think you have to be open to think out of the box, if you will. Like, because of these situations, it's not going to be a cookie cutter answer. So certainly being open to those things, but it's also a mindset change too, right? Like, you really have to have a mindset where when I heard this quote one time too, where when challenges or crises come around, you can either see it as what it is, or if your mind's such a way, you can see it as an opportunity, right? And that's what it's going to probably take. Opportunity in terms of opportunities can come as a result of the crisis, right? As opposed to one thing. So it's really being open to those things, and then really being able to key in on them as well too. So not so much looking at what you're dealing with right in front of you, but what are the things that probably could happen out of it.
Look past your current circumstance.
Absolutely, that out of the box thinking for sure.
As Beyonce says, when make lemonade. Life gives you lemons, make some lemonade.
Yeah, there you go. Put up a stand, right? Yeah, that's for sure.
So, okay, you know what? I'm gonna share my screen again right now. Really quickly.
We have this business case, right?
We have this business case to examine. So just give me one quick second here. I want to make sure I can still see you as well. You're somewhere hidden on my screen here. All right. So when we were going through this, we thought it would be a good idea to have a case scenario with some numbers to bring the discussion to life.
Yes.
Part of financial planning for the what ifs is to know exactly how much the what ifs cost. Statistics show that nearly 90% of people over the age of 65 want to stay in their home for as long as possible, and 80% believe their current residence is where they will always live. For this reason, we decided to narrow down this topic to aging in place. So we hope to give you an idea on how much money you will need to age in place successfully, especially if the what ifs happen. For discussion purposes, we are going to assume that the average, we're taking an average 2-income family. We're saying they earn about 100,000 is what we agreed on. The average lifespan, statistically speaking, is 86. However, people are living much older. There's a lot of good medications out there and whatnot, preserving people a lot longer. And also, we're looking at a couple in their early 40s for this particular case study as well. So I'm going to share some numbers with you, and then Zamal will give us some feedback on this case study. All right. So in-home care services. I tell families immediately when I have a discussion, do you have a personal emergency response system? The average price of a personal emergency response system is $30 to $80 a month. For those of you who missed my show on yesterday, it was on the 411 and personal emergency response systems. These are devices that if you live on your own or you live in a couple even, if there's a fall or an emergency in the home, it connects you directly with a base where they can send 911 to you. They have a history on what your health conditions may be. They can advocate for you and get help to you as soon as possible. And this actually saves lives. This is a must-have in the home. If you're looking at having in-home care, so PSW or a nurse, the average cost is $30 to $60 an hour. Most home care agencies require a 3-hour minimum for PSWs. So let's say on average, you're getting 15 hours a week in care. And you know what? Sometimes as we get older, we want to maintain our independence, and we want to keep pushing and pushing and pushing and doing things. But there's a point where it would be nice to have someone come into the home and help with your laundry, help with your cooking, help with your cleaning, help with your errands, different things like that. So I'm saying 15 hours a week. And if you get LIN, which is government services, say average, they come twice a week, this covers you for 7 days a week. So 15 hours a week is 3 hours a day for 5 days. That would run you about $3,600 a month. If the case ever came where you needed 24-hour in-home care or live-in, that's where the price bumps up. You're looking at $30,000 to $50,000 per year for that. Okay. Then we have home modifications such as a stair lift. If your home has a straight stairs, it literally goes straight up the stairs, no curves, just straight up the stairs. It runs you to the second floor. It runs you from $3,000 to $5,000 a month. Flat for the price, not a month, flat. If you're looking at a curved stair lift, so just a little curve in that stairs, it's going to run you $10,000 plus for the stair lift. If you need a stair lift that goes down to your basement as well, that's a curve. So you're looking at anywhere from $10,000, $15,000 or more, depending on if you want it continuously from upstairs that goes straight downstairs, whatever you want, that's the price range you're looking at. If we're looking at other home renovations, such as renovating your washroom for mobility, a lot of homes just have a bathtub. So if you want to get the bathtub cut, I saw a commercial the other day where they just cut it so you can step in, it's not as high. That's going to run you $900 to $1,200. Full renovation for the bathroom, average $10,000. If you're renovating the room in the downstairs of your home into a bedroom because it's just not even feasible sometimes to use the stair lift to go up, and there's an existing room in the room downstairs with walls, I would say average under $1,000 because you're just putting up a door, really. If there's no existing walls, say roughly $3,000 for the drywall and whatnot to put up. If you're converting your 2-piece washroom on the ground floor to a 3-piece with a shower, if space permits on the ground floor, you're going to still spend about $10,000 for that to happen. Installing railings and grab bars. So grab bars throughout the washrooms, those are bars for you to grip onto while you're in the washroom so you don't slip on your toilet. And also along the home, they're quite aesthetically pleasing nowadays for you to walk so you're not gripping on the slippery wall. It's gonna cost you about $700 to $1,200. Extra lighting, I'm talking about motion lighting, motion sensor lighting, even lighting on the steps, closet lighting, just different types of lighting throughout the home, because the brighter the better. It's running you about $1,000. If you need to widen your doorways and hallways and whatnot to increase floor space to accommodate wheelchairs or walkers, just so you know, the average doorway for a wheelchair to fit through comfortably is about 36 inches. So you're looking at about $300 to $800 per door. And again, replace the standard light switches with toggle or the rocker type switches where you touch it and it goes up and you touch it and it goes down. That's about under $500 for that to happen. If you're looking at also renovating your kitchen so if you have a wheelchair and you want to make it accessible, so the counters are lower, you're changing your stove to have the knobs in the front, you're lowering your cupboards and everything so it's accessible while you're in the wheelchair, the sink and everything, you're looking at about $10,000 to $15,000. You may want to make some modifications to the type of flooring you have. So if your entire home is currently, say, hardwood, you may want to put some carpet in just for, things to move around, or vice versa. So that really depends on the size of the house, the square footage, the quality of material you want to use, but that's the average price. You may want to purchase an adjustable bed because it gets harder to get in and out of the bed. So like a prostropedic bed, roughly $2,000 if you find a good sale. Assistive seating. What this is that it's like a lazy boy, but you can actually switch it so it brings you up to an almost standing position. That's about $700 to $5,000 depending on how intense you get with the chair. And then if you want to install a ramp from outside your home into the home, you're looking at from $200 to $2,000 depending on if you need just a transition on the steps, just to, if your steps are steeper, you can have transitions installed, or you can actually build a ramp. And then let's not forget, regular home maintenance costs. If the home is paid off for, you have your property tax, your utilities, your miscellaneous repairs, that's about $15,000 a year. So in total, we're looking at, for care, $48,000 to $60,000 a year. Modifications in the home, $35,000 to $55,000 in total. Extras, say $2,000 to $9,000. And then essential home maintenance, that is without a mortgage, $15,000 a year. So Zamal, based on these numbers, and again, this is just a case scenario that I'm giving you, but these are actual numbers I know from working in this realm. What do you do for this person? What do you do for someone? How do we plan for this actually?
Right.
And I'm sure the numbers are shocking. The numbers, even as I was doing it, I was like, wow, I need to get my game on because this is expensive and I want to stay at home.
So you know what? It's very sobering. Yeah. These kind of numbers. So so let's keep it, because we could definitely go down some rabbit holes with regards to different scenarios. So let's keep the case the same way we've set it up in terms of the age. So we're talking about, so we're making 100K household income, right? And now we're talking about early 40s, right? So some of the things that we want to be doing now is just really, really having a strategic but intentional savings plans right across the board. That's, so the first thing I'll be looking to do with a couple that have, that came in with a case study like this is RSPs, tax-free savings, and non-reg investments. So we'll really do those things, strategically. As you know, with RSPs, there's only a certain amount you can put in there. Just like tax-free, there's a certain amount. These are government plans. We want to make sure that we're maximizing on those scenarios, right? And and it's such a balance, Des, because you don't want to do it where you're saving for your future at the expense of living right now in the present, right? And that's probably the nuance that we have to really get in financial planning. That's key, because people get to your point. You look at these and you go, my gosh, I got to start yesterday. But at the same time, we still have to be able to live so you don't get too stressed, so you can actually make the money to put into these plans. But definitely, the strategy would be all those fronts. So registered investments and making sure we have savings plans attached to those. The registered investments, again, are the government programs. So, so your RSPs, your tax-frees. And then the non-registered investments are just that, that additional savings that, so, and the difference is one's going to be tax sheltered or tax free in the registered ones, and one is going to be taxed just regularly as investment income. But if we're able to sort of get those on plan, then we start really using the tools available to us as planners to sort of see, so we're talking about early 40s, we'll sort of do scenarios. What if we retire at 65? What sort of numbers do we have at that stage? What if we retire at 70? Early retire at 60. So we'll start to make sure that as we set up these plans with this particular situation, this couple, that we're seeing how we're tracking, because there has to be some numbers that we're looking to hit at a certain level. And then, so these are on the side of the couple, but there's also, if they're working, if they're not self-employed, as we discussed earlier, then they might have a situation where they have some group benefits. I mean, I know pensions are few and far between nowadays, but if they have if they're working for a company that happen to have one, then that's also going to help. And then at the end of the day too, we'll be able to add in at the very last part the CPP and old age security. I don't expect that to, if any of these things, but certainly we want to make sure that we put all streams that can come online when it's an actual time for retirement. So the good thing is that we have about 20 or so years minimum for this particular business case. Again, we want the coachability and the mindset to say that, what, there's some things that need to get started, and the quicker the better. So that's the type of conversation we'd have. The first conversation is really, where's ground zero? Where are we right now? Did we start any of these things yet, first of all? And then sort of say, okay, well, notwithstanding what we want to start, is there any sort of debt obligations right now from the income coming in? So it's it's like, how do you eat an elephant? Like, it's huge, but we just chop away. We just have one morsel at a time. Because if you sort of you start with the end in mind, and then you just work your way back. But it's definitely something that once you take the emotional part out of it, we can get them on track, and then we can get started and see how it goes.
Right. So, you're in your 60s or 70s. You probably haven't listened to my show and you've fallen.
Yes.
You need to do some modifications because that's affected you. You need to have a stair lift and these different things. Is that where something like a reverse mortgage would kick in for these modifications? I know that's a word that a lot of people are hesitant. There's a commercial with some famous guy right now talking about, looking at him like, I know you're rich. I don't know what you're talking about. But anyways, that's another converation.
We'll do another show on that one.
Yeah.
No, I think, what, you touch a good point, and I mean, it's the 800-pound gorilla in the room. We should talk about it, because the fact is, like, this is I don't want to say it's the ideal case, but the age group here that we just started this business case is probably, not where your clients are. So let's really address that, and just give some thoughts there. And again, these are the thoughts, certainly consult with, your financial consultant or whoever you're talking to, and get confirmation or get affirmation before you do anything. But when it comes to that, when you're at that stage now, so it might be in what I call retirement transition. So maybe you're not fully retired, but it's very close, closer to retirement than the beginning, right? Like, we're talking 3 to 5 years out, maybe, if not already. The options for more savings is not as great as it was before. That's just the truth. Now, that being said, you might have some assets that one could monetize, and that's I'm just going to touch on it a little bit with regards to the reverse mortgage, since you brought it up. So it's a way to use your home, access equity in your home without having a monthly payment. And there's it's a niche product. The first thing I'd sort of say, meaning that it's definitely something that's on the table that one can consider, but it's not the first, second, or third option in my opinion. Really, just because there's just some things there that you have to be so fiscally responsible when you look at that particular option, just to make sure that you use it like a full tool that it is, because if not, it can really it can turn on you, if you will, like, and you find yourself in a deeper situation. But the people who are closer to the retirement are going to have a scenario now where we look at monetizing and seeing where lump sums could come from. So whether it's from equity, obviously the reverse mortgage is enticing, because then how does a senior get a mortgage, even if they're refinancing their own home, right? That's the challenge, right? So that's, because you have to be able to pay for it, although you're going to take out a lump sum out of your home and tell them that that's going to turn to cash, like the banks, they don't really see the way you're seeing it, so that's the challenge. But yeah, it does become tricky, does, and we really have to look at everything at that time and see where all the income streams are, and then see what, if any, a gap is there for what you're doing. But the retrofitting of the home is something that is, I know that it's near and dear for people, especially people who've been in their homes for a long time, talking 20, 30, 40 years, like it's, there's a lot of emotional strings attached there. So the longer they can stay in their home, I think it's also a part of that mindset, and that, having that peace of mind going into retirement too. So all these things matter. It's
Yeah, I'm sure, like you, I've seen the best case and the worst case scenarios.
Yes.
I've gone into homes with, I remember one lady, her husband's like 90 something and she was in her 80s. And I mean, it was a picture perfect home for aging in place. Everything was done and they were comfortable, and they looked at me and said, we're not going anywhere.
Right.
And I can understand that. I've been in homes where someone has recently fallen, and something as simple as the front step was all busted up and cracked up. And I'm saying to the son, you need to fix that.
Yeah.
But it's probably still not done. So I think another important thing when we talk about financial planning is that your parents, and I'm talking to the younger adult children, your parents have worked all their lives to help you get where you are and for them to live comfortably in their older age. So it's to enable them. A lot of times, either the parents are worrying about what they're leaving, what their legacy is, their will that they're leaving to you, or you have the children, unfortunately, who are selfish and worrying about what they're getting left. And you really have to remove the selfish part and enable them to live the best life possible with dignity, because they worked to get to this place. So it's being able to enable them. If they're worrying about, oh, well, no, this is for you when I'm gone. No. You need to take care of yourself.
Release them from that feeling, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because that is something that I definitely see trending. So it's such a deep conversation. Like I say, I can think of so many, like I said, best case and worst case. And even in conversations with so many seniors, I ask them, what advice do you have? And they say to me, don't get old. And I'm like, okay, well, that I can't do. What else do you have? Right. And then say, make sure you have enough money.
Yeah, and have those conversations. To your point, I think it's so important to have those I call it estate preparedness, right? You just sort of, so it's a conversation saying, yes, whatever, when I go, yes, obviously you're going to split it the way you need to split it with the family, as per my will, but I'm not gone yet, so, it's really one of those things where if you could, it's not about spending it before I leave either, so it's the tough conversations, because unfortunately, you are talking about somebody passing, as a part of the conversation. But if you think about, having it first, then, then you'll realize how much that they need the release. Because most times, the people who are older, they have that traditional view of stuff, right?
Yes.
The kids, once a kid, always a kid, and that's true. But adult children are a little different. That we know how that goes, and you have to just sort of let your parents know. And it's a two-way conversation. Listen, mom, dad, you guys, need to be comfortable now. Don't worry about me and my brother John, right? Like, we're gonna
no, that's a real talk conversation, right?
Real talk, exactly. And I mean, sometimes even you just have to fake it till you make it too, just to let them feel better about themselves, right? Because that alone is going to help their mindset, even when it comes to probably, like you said, retrofitting the home if they want to stay there. We'd even get into other scenarios where, it's time to actually eventually leave the home, right? But, the longer they can stay in their home, I find too, I don't know if you've seen this, but I've seen this amongst clients too, the more happier they're too, right?
Yes.
Because again, it's all that has to do with the fear of change too. Yep. So, it's already big enough to sort of retire and go to, after 40, years working, you're in this different life stage, but now you have to change again from a house that you lived in for 40 years to a new thing. So you just have to sort of give them a little chance to adapt and get comfortable in one situation. And that's why staying in the home as long as possible, even with the retrofitting of it, is the good scenario for them.
Yeah. I mean, my mindset, it's one thing that caused me to transition into home modifications and home safety. A lot has opened my eyes during this pandemic.
Yeah.
And the reality of being in a shared space with so many people and caregivers coming in and out, that's where the most deaths are occurring. It's a fact. I'm speaking facts here.
It's just
And
truth, just right.
it's changed my mindset so much, which is why I'm fully advocating for the government to, forget about pouring money into healthcare and building more homes. People have homes. There's not enough.
Yes.
Most people cannot afford to go into a retirement residence proper, because that's going to cost about 5-6 grand or more a month. They cannot. So, let's look at home modifications. Let's look at bringing home care home. And let's look at bringing them the things they need within their own home, enabling them to have the exercise programs, whatever it is they need, let's enable them to, because really we can't keep up with the growth. And we're just at the tip of that.
Yes.
When the baby boomers really start we're just at the tip, and look at the problem we're having. Can you imagine if this happened 10, 15 years from now when we have more older people?
Yeah, and you're making such good points. And I mean, and you're so right. The COVID pandemic here has really put another highlight on how much we're not ready for this, in the sense that, like, it's older people are dying, but it's older people it's not older people in their homes. So it's really to your point, showing and proving the point that you've been making, and the advocacy that you've been doing, because it's what's needed. Like, it's people who are in a situation, whether they just got there, they've been there a long time, it's still in their mind. The mindset is like, I am by myself, right? And it's not a place to be, and obviously we've seen the effects of what it would take to sort of just, because not much that's needed, but something like Corona really showed that it can hit you out of the box, right? So it's, you're so right. You're so right.
It's the isolation, and I can't believe what it'd be like to be in one of these places where you're seeing this one down the road dying from you, this one dying, this one, like, that's so scary. And then, once there's a breakout, I know personally everyone's getting tested. That's not a comfortable test. So they all have to keep going through this. They can't see their family. They can't, have all their comforts. It's very frightening.
It is.
So we really have to take note and start planning. This is why I put the numbers out there, because most people, even when I worked in home care, they have no clue what it costs. They don't even have a clue what the government's able to offer them and how to get that and maximize that, because I didn't mention in the numbers, but once you have the government care, it saves you your HST on the home care.
Right.
Nonetheless, home care is a luxury. It is a luxury to have private care.
Of course.
You see the hourly rates, it's a luxury. So it's definitely, it's a numbers game, and it's something that we, like I said, even me, I know the numbers, but when I put it on paper, it was like, whoa, okay, hold on a second.
Real, you write them down, yeah.
Oh yeah, it really had me shook. I have a question from a viewer.
Sure.
Can you give us some examples of balancing savings, planning, and living and enjoying your life? That depends if you have champagne taste or beer taste.
An example.
That's my answer.
Yeah. No, you're right. You know what? Like, there could be two different sides of the there's a range of examples, I guess. And I mean, as much as we laugh at that part, like, you're right. It really has to do with a personal situation, right? So I always tell people, it's not because you make more money mean that you're in a better position, right? It's what you're doing with the money that you're making. So to try and give an example, I'd sort of say, by budgeting, this is how you get balance. Budgeting brings balance. What do I mean by that? Well, we know that the money is coming in from work, and you know what that is every 2 weeks, and the situation's there. Now we need to just manage our outflows, and that's what we're talking about. So if we're able to do better at watching where we spend, and I'm not trying to say penny pinch, but certainly have a better awareness. So if you're a Starbucks person, for example, I have nothing against Starbucks, but certainly I just know that their coffee is not $2. So
they captured the teenage market very well as well.
Yeah, my 10-year-old teenager. Right. But so things like those. So you might have to want to be, and that's all discipline is. It's just drawing in some things that, what, I don't really need that, but I like having it. But now that we're talking about saving and planning, I know I really need that. So it's just really looking at prioritizing the spend. So we're getting the money in, how do I prioritize the spend? Well, first, pay yourself first, and pay yourself first doesn't mean to spend on luxury. It means actually that money, invest that money first, right? So after you're tithing, obviously you figure out that comes right off. I always forget about that because I do it automatically, but that's a part of it. And then, then you put away X amount, and then you still live. So, maybe, and it's not a switch. So maybe you don't, if you used to do it daily, maybe you don't cut it right off because that's not realistic. You cut down to 3 times a week, and then eventually, but it's an intentional way to sort of get a balance. It does start with a money.
Yeah, no, exactly. I know another piece of advice I heard was make yourself a bill. So you have your cell phone bill, you have this bill.
Like that. Yeah, it's just the priorities of those, which bills you're going to pay, right?
Yeah.
So pay Desiree bill for Zamal bill for, that's
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I don't see any other questions coming in yet, but I have another one for you.
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead.
So, financial literacy is not something taught in school.
No, unfortunately. No.
This is such a relevant topic. Are you aware of any financial literacy programs for teens and young adults? Because it should be something I think that starts, like I think of how much money and how many opportunities I had back when I was 16, 18, and what I did with it. I wish I had the knowledge that I have now. So are you aware of any programs like that?
Right. It's easy, and you make a good point, and it's something that we should keep lobbying to have them do in schools. Unfortunately, it's not there yet. I mean, but there's certainly organizations that would have are trying to get programs out there, at least for communities, so community-based organizations. So those are the way we try to source those through, like, because it takes that purposeful drive to ask the question. So if you're waiting for it to fall on the plate or for the schools to go, we just have to take those reins and just really make those calls, find out one-on-one, no point about these things. So there's organizations that guarantee you that would have some literacy, financial literacy program attached to it, or know how to lead in the right direction, So, I know there's the Canadian Association of Urban Financial Professionals, COFP, that has a program, through our community outreach there that is for young adults, like, for those teenagers and those going into university. So programs like those are out here for sure.
Yeah, I know my daughter, a friend of ours, he's a accountant, CGA. He started investing from very young, and he has a program he does with kids from like 13 to 18 on investing in the stock market. So she went through that program, and she had some money sitting in her account, and I had her actually take $200 and invest it in stocks. And she's made like $80 on it already, better than a bank account.
Oh, well, I mean, anything would be better than a bank account, because we don't pay, the bank accounts don't pay anything right now.
Exactly.
But that's great though. But it's those are the things that we're talking about. Just those little insights, right? Just to sort of plant the seed for them. Those are so when they see it working, like you said, with Drew, like she sees that, like she'll never forget that. Like, I mean, that's exactly it's indelible impression upon her now, and that's something that I'm sure she'll go back to. Even if she did leave, I don't think she would even finish doing that. So that's awesome. Yeah.
And it's also something that I think one of the biggest fears people have with financial advising is having that money conversation, as we said. Yes. But if you don't have as much fear when you're younger, because you haven't been battle hardened from all life stuff. Right. So if you're comfortable from it when you're younger, then when she gets to a point where she has a career, or they get to a career, they're okay coming to someone like you and saying, look, you say to them, what is your risk tolerance?
Right.
I've been doing this since I was 16. I can tolerate.
That's right. But even just having the conversation too, right? Say, listen, you know what? This is not what I do in my 9 to 5. So I understand that I need somebody to come alongside, but I have some knowledge and we just want to build on that. Exactly. And that's what we really want to start, is to have that generation, start doing that from now. So when they become seniors, they're, then not trying to put you out of a job, it's still a far way away, but certainly, the generation behind us should be greater seniors as a result of the things that we're doing now.
Exactly. I have another question coming in. Do you know of any automatic processes to save that work really well?
Automatic. So, I mean, in general, what you want to do is set up your savings plans to probably coordinate with when you actually get your inflows. So most people get a direct deposit for work, for example. I'm assuming this is what we're talking about. So what you want to do is before that money starts to get split up to the different bills and whatnot. So if you could set up an automatic savings plan at the same time that your automatically deposit went in, then that's how you know exactly. I like to call it forced savings, right? So without you thinking about how much am I going to put away in my Zamal bill or my Des bill this month or this 2 week period, you already did it automatically. So at the end of the day, on the other side of where it's getting invested is the second priority. The first one is to actually get the money into an investment, right? So that's the key. So and then there's different values that or advantages of doing that. Dollar cost averaging is the biggest part where if you're buying a mutual fund, for example, in this forced savings or continuous savings plan, if you're having that going to something that every day the price is different. So sometimes you get more units, sometimes you get less for your $25 or $50 or whatever we're saving. But over a long period of time, you'll always get what's called the lowest average cost because you're doing it. So
Right.
there's some advantages of doing the automatic savings or continuous savings.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Next question for you. We're almost wrapping it up soon.
Awesome.
What do you want your legacy to be?
What do I
What do you want your legacy to
Wow.
be?
That's a loaded question.
Oprah Winfrey once said your legacy is based on how many lives you touch.
Right.
You're touching a lot of lives. What do you want your legacy to be?
Powerful. I think I started to say it a little bit towards the end before we answer that last question. I think I definitely know that a part of the legacy is to get another the generation behind us. I really believe that the generation behind us would be so much more enabled to approach these things like getting older, how to finance or how to facilitate the things that you need to do in those things by what we're doing for them right now. So part of my legacy is I'm a big advocate for those things, for sharing information, for financial literacy, as you even spoke about as well, because I'm also the belief that if somebody had told me way back when, we would have been so much further ahead right now, right? So my legacy is just really being able to impact as many as I could with the information, experiential knowledge that I've gained over these 22 plus years in banking, so they can be a better generation and be better contributors to the community.
You meant to that. You meant to that. We have a top fan named Antoinette Duncan saying, give a shout out to her because she is a top fan, so she gets that. Hello. Do you have any closing nuggets for us that we can take away from this? We said so much, but how do we really key takeaway?
You know what? It has been a lot. The biggest thing is not to feel overwhelmed by the whole thing, but just really just start wherever you can start. Again, it's really how do you complete a race? You just have to put one foot in front of the other. So the first step is always the hardest. So I encourage everyone to make the first step. So what is that first step? It could be different things for different people. But if you've never started to save yet, then the first step is to step towards saving. Like get into a position where you're going to actually, put yourself as a priority and start to put some stuff away for you, right? And then sometimes it takes from things that are probably not as lasting or very temporary that you're doing right now, and sometimes you have to rejig that money around, but know that it's for a greater cause. So they say when you're working out, one of the things they say is short-term pain for the long-term gain. So it's really just mindsets. The takeaway is just to really try and get into a mindset where you're no longer just 100% consumer, but now you're going to try and be somebody that's going to have the ability to be an investor. And for that, you're going to need to have that egg, that start, that seed, if you will. So just get started, and if you're already started, continue to at least every year. Now that we're coming up to the end of the year, increase it every year. try and just make that push. That's how you make a muscle grow. You gotta have it tear, you gotta stretch. So you
Yep.
know, if you're doing $25 for the last 2 years, 3 years, then let's get it to another figure. Look at your budget. You know, be real, be authentic with yourself as you're looking at, you know what, I don't actually have to spend on here. I can actually increase this from 25 to 50. It's going to be better in the end. You know, so that's the greatest thing. Just know it's hard to see it, you know, around the corner. But I've spoken to many people who have been around the corner, and you know, they are saying, you know, in retrospect, I should have done X, Y, Z. So that's what I'd say.
Yeah, and definitely, I think COVID has shown us what we need and we don't need. I haven't bought any shoes in a whole year. I haven't. There's so many things I have not done.
You're still breathing, right? You're
Right?
right. And you
So
don't have that tick anymore. Like you
don't. Yeah, no, but honestly, it has forced us into a mode, if you're paying attention, to realize what's important, what's not. And I think it is a form of forced savings.
Yes.
Because we can't go nowhere if you're listening to those. So definitely. Zamal, I want to thank you so much for being on the show.
My
Please
pleasure.
stay on the line with us. I do want to just share some final closing words here. So I cannot begin to stress how much helping yourself, a spouse, or an aging parent to avoid falls goes a long way towards preserving health and independence, which is why you need to exercise daily. You need to have your eyes checked yearly. You need to monitor your diet daily. You need to monitor your medications anytime there's a change, even if it's non-prescription. You need to have your home inspected for safety hazards yearly. Life has no guarantees. However, we all have the power within us and the knowledge, which is all around you, to do better. There's a saying, you don't know what you don't know until you know. You now know what you need to do to preserve your health as best as you can. You now know the costs should the what ifs happen. The choice is yours. I will highlight that the information shared in this show is for general information purposes only and should not be used to make any personal changes to your lifestyle or health without consulting with the appropriate financial, medical, or healthcare professionals. Okay. For many, insurance is a mystery. What is the difference between life insurance and long-term care insurance? What illnesses are covered by critical illness insurance? What are the types of disability insurance? What are the recommended types of insurance for seniors? It's time to take the mystery out of insurance. Join me, Desiree King, and Andrew McDonald tomorrow as we discuss the 411 on insurance for seniors. Thank you for joining us. Remember that all our discussions can also be found on YouTube, on the Senior Living 411 Incorporated channel, or on the Senior Living 411 podcast. Please remember to like this broadcast, share this broadcast, or subscribe to this broadcast, and follow the Senior Living 411 Incorporated Facebook page and join the Senior Living 411 series private Facebook group. Once again, I'm back here on the screen with Zamal. I want to thank you so much, Zamal, for taking the time out. You do so much. Thank you for joining. This has been a wonderful time having you on the show again. Yes. And everyone have a wonderful, blessed evening. And I will see you tomorrow for day 30 in my 30-day quest to bring information to you every night. Great.